What's happening? What's happening? I was trying to get this live going on my computer. Unfortunately, if it's not one thing, it's another. But now the webcam on my computer is not working. And the mic is not working. The screen is fixed, but there's now other issues that are causing me not to be able to get on this live with my computer. So it's going to be a little bit of a wait till I figure out everything going on with my computer. Or maybe one of these days I might just bite the bullet and get a new computer, which I would love to do, but unfortunately computers are not free. And I don't want to just get any computer because I do my video editing and all that good stuff on the current computer that I do have. So for now, I'm still on the phone. For now, I am still on the phone. What's happening? What's happening? I know that most of those people who are probably commenting on my posts over the last 2 to 3 days are not going to show up because typically those people love to just chat in the comments because they don't really have to face the people they're talking to. Hey Tammy, good afternoon. How are you doing? Good afternoon. It's a really nice day outside today. I was outside in the morning playing some saxophone for a breast cancer awareness function that I support every year. It really always helps you to put things into perspective, that no matter how bad you might feel like you have it, there's always somebody out there that has a different, possibly worse experience than you. I had people talk to me today and tell me that they had several people pass in the last few months. I spoke to people who have history of cancer, breast cancer in their family. They're the lone survivor. Many didn't make it. There's just a lot going on in the world. Too much to have trivial arguments that aren't necessary. But how are y'all doing? I got about 30-40 minutes to chat. I hope that we get a decent amount of people in here so we can get this discussion going. How y'all doing? I'm going to wait a couple more minutes to see who shows up. And then I'm going to get into it, and whoever shows up, shows up. And the rest can check me on the replay. So just to give a little background information. Oh, you're a breast cancer survivor? Wow, I'm glad that you're still here. And that's amazing. I'm always amazed by people who overcome. I know that's a lot to overcome. I know that's a lot to overcome. So just a little bit about what inspired me to get into these lives. They say that art imitates life. So I consider putting together a reality TV show as somewhat putting together a work of art because they get the raw canvas. They meaning production, editors, videographers, all that stuff. they get the real social experiment because they're the ones that are seeing everything unfiltered behind the lenses. And then they choose which parts that they filter off to us to watch on our televisions and our live streams and all that. Even a show like Big Brother that has live streams. You would think that the live streams mean that we get an unfiltered show that unless anything really wild is happening, we're going to see the majority of what's happening with these people over the 3 months that they're there. That is not the case. This season proved there was so much edited out. But even with the parts that are edited out, even with production's invisible hand, even with diary rooms, suggestions that production makes for them, different adjustments that they make to the show based on fan responses and all that, we still see instances of things that happen in real life happening on the show. Yes, there's reality TV elements to it. There is reality TV elements to it always. You know, there's always things that they do for production value and all that. But still, the show often imitates things that we see in real life, whether that be Paloma's situation, whether that be Kyle's situation, whether that be Monty and Taylor's situationship. You know, all those kind of things are things that happen in real life. Now, the one that I specifically, thank you, Van Hoot, liked and subbed. The one that I specifically wanted to get into, though, is the topic that people have been talking about. Well, I have been talking about, and people have started commenting on over the last 2 to 3 days, which is mental health. To address mainly the people that keep telling me, you're a mental health page, so you should be understanding of somebody with mental health issues because you're a mental health page. I know that that's a surprise to y'all that I'm a mental health page, but it's not a surprise to me. When I decided to name this page Music and Mental Health, it was for the purpose of advocating and spreading awareness about mental health. The page kind of morphed somewhat into a Big Brother page because of the attention that I got from speaking about Big Brother. But that never changed the original intent of the page. That being said, I know more about mental health than the average person. And that's not even an attempt to brag or anything like that, because there's people with doctorates and master's degrees that know a lot more than me about the topic. But that still doesn't change the fact that I know more than the average person. And I'll tell you how. Number one, personal experience. I've said this before on several of my videos, which I know only a small amount of you have seen. I shouldn't say a small amount. It's definitely a complete study on mental health. I agree, Tammy. I have my own mental health disorder that I was diagnosed with. Multiple of them, as a matter of fact. Anxiety disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, clinical depression, panic disorder, and agoraphobia. That was what I was diagnosed with. So, I know something about it from having lived experience, which is literally what a peer specialist is. Like somebody who uses their own lived experience. Now, I'll say I'm a certified peer specialist because they started creating certifications for peer specialists. Because back in the day, and when I say back in the day, some states are just getting those certifications now for peer specialists. You could work in the mental health field just by virtue of having a diagnosis, just like AA, just like how there's AA leaders, and the only qualification you needed was to have a background in substance abuse, as in used alcohol or drugs, right? And I have no problem with this. But the reason that they started making certifications is so that the average person that is using or whatever it is, still currently in the midst of their experience and not necessarily stable, can't start leading other people right away. So their qualifications are now having to learn something about their mental health disorder through therapy and get a certification to learn how to deal, how to talk to other people that are having similar experiences. It helps create those bridges. Yes. Learn how to talk to people who are having similar experiences, because imagine you, as somebody who is going through a very traumatic experience, is instantly like, I just jumped out of this experience and now I want to help people who are going through that experience now. But you haven't even gone through the process of really fully healing and getting treatment for it, but you're already trying to lead a bunch of people and help them. Now, if you're following me and you have been reading what's been going on my community posts and my Paloma post yesterday, you'll realize why I'm saying that. Number one, people are telling me I don't understand mental illness. I don't know how you can't understand it when you have your own. You have a certification for it. You've taken several certifications for it, as a matter of fact, and worked in the field for a decade. I don't know what more I need for anyone to think I'm qualified to speak on it. But the crazy thing is, all of that does not qualify me. But what some people say qualifies Paloma to speak to millions of people who are following her, the show, whatever, about mental illness, is being out of the house for a couple of months and getting a diagnosis, taking meds for a couple of months. That qualifies her. But because you don't know me, I'm not qualified to speak about it. I think there's a challenge when dealing with mental health. People want to advocate for it, yet don't realize that you can challenge yourself as a person. Mark, you are very intelligent and self-aware. Thank you. There's definitely a challenge in it. One challenge is that sometimes when people... So this was like a little analogy that I was thinking of before I got on this live. There's certain people who drink, let's say, they're alcoholics. And then when they drink, they say wild stuff to their friends and family while they're drinking or whatever. Then when they sober up, they're like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean any of that. Forget everything that I said, I was drunk. Now, if you said to that person, that's okay, there's drunk you and there's sober you. So I excuse drunk you, because when you're drunk, that's not you. That's another person. I feel like that's what's being done when somebody does and says the kind of things that she was saying. And they're like, that was another person because she was manic. So throw whatever she said out during that time of mania, because it doesn't count. What are we talking about? We are talking about mental health. And specifically, I didn't put her in the title and I didn't put her picture in here, but it specifically was sparked because of the conversation about Paloma and how I said it's dangerous for these platforms to be touting her around as a mental health advocate when she's saying things that are just potentially dangerous to all the people who look up to her. The work that you have to put in. I love that you said that, by the way. Like, what are we talking about? Like, you jumped on here. You just jumped on here just for support. The work that you have put in to be able to truly become a strong advocate, to become closer to whole with yourself, most people do not understand. You have clearly done the work. Thank you. So a lot of people, I've talked about this with people, in my life recently, that I feel the majority of people don't put in that self work. And if you even suggest to them that they need to put in that self work, they get really defensive. It's not coming from a place, at least from me, I guess for some other people it's different, but for me it's never coming from a place of like, I'm better than you, I've done the work and you haven't done the work. It's just more like, let me see, Paloma is irrelevant overall. The more relevancy she gets at this early stage without her doing the work, she can't take this shortcut to snag the bag. She was going in so much circles in that conversation. Always, I love chatting with y'all. Yeah, I appreciate you being here. Right. And I'm not even necessarily trying to make her relevant. It's so interesting that I was actually going to begin this whole live differently by talking about how I made a YouTube page. This is probably my sixth or seventh YouTube page. But I had a successful YouTube page back in the old YouTube. Before you had to do all this 4,000 watch hours, 1,000 subscribers, and make all of your content 100% original. You can't have music in it. You can't have anything in it that's not yours. And I succeeded. I used to make I wasn't rich off of YouTube, but I used to make a couple $100s a month that would get deposited in my bank account from YouTube. And that was from uploading footage of other things that were happening. Most of it was not me. It was footage of current events. It was footage of sports. It was just footage of things that I see on the TV that I would record and just put on here. And I got paid for it. The point of me saying that though, is that I never wanted to be a face on the internet. I just wanted to put up the content and get the money. Hell, I would still do that if I could. But the point is, let me see these comments. It's frightening to see and hear Paloma. As someone who lives with depression and anxiety, her comments can endanger those who have not been in or sought treatment. And I'm seeing a lot of those people, Tammy, in my comment section. She's validating toxic behavior. She's validating toxic behavior. You are good, man. She just frustrates me. And there's millions. I'm not just talking about her Instagram page. There's millions of people who hang off of her every word. And I'm not just saying because it's her. I'm just saying people who come out of the Big Brother house have a certain power. Even if they were painted in a negative light, they're still going to have some sort of a following. And to the people who are saying, I'm unforgiving, I'm not unforgiving. A genuine apology where the person is just like, I'm wrong about this, I understand that, and I'm willing to put in the work to get better. I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. That's a good thing. I'm all about growth. I'm all about healing, learning, and growing. It's cool to see what you're doing with your channel. You got a lot of good stuff going on in your life. I do. Thank you for saying that. I don't want to say your name wrong, so I'm just not going to say it. I'll just call you M. Thank you for saying that. It's like Kanye or her, yeah, or others people just hang off. Any darn word they say without really assessing whether they are being coherent or not. You aren't even dragging her. Yeah. And I think in some parts she doesn't even realize everything she's saying. Because if you listen to her interviews, they're all over the place. They are all over the place. Me too. That's why I'm quiet when they are commenting. She is dangerous for mental health, in my opinion. Any person who uses it as an excuse for bad behavior is dangerous. Learn how to. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, Danielle. Yeah, Danielle. Like it's my mental health. I need to get a shirt that says "It's not me. It's my mental health." A lot of people use that mental health umbrella, and that hurts somebody like me. That hurts somebody like me because I have my own issues. So it puts it in a negative light when somebody tries to use that as their Hail Mary. Oh, I'm getting all these negative comments and all this hate. It's my mental illness. I don't like that. M works. Thank you. Clocking in. Hey, chocolate. She didn't talk about the frameworks, the support you need. I know there's so much missing. The work you need to do. To her, it sounded like the work was just going to a few therapy sessions and that's it. In the 2 hours that I listened to her within those two interviews, well, within the live and within the interview she did, I didn't really hear anything about any of that stuff, unfortunately, because I don't think she did that work. Hello, chat. Please hit the like button. Yes, hit the like button, please. I feel we need a transcription of what she said to truly see it down there on paper. I want to see if she was truly diagnosed. She came out of there like, actually, Indy, I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder and depression. I've worked in this field for about a decade, close to a decade. We have this thing in the field called a DSM book. I don't know if you guys know what the DSM book is, but it's the book of diagnosis codes that they give you for various mental health disorders, right? So the thing about that book, any one of y'all, even if you have no history, no mental health diagnosis that you've ever received in your life, if you walk into a therapist's office right now, and tell them anything, any problem that you're having, anything that you can think of, there is a diagnosis code for it. They're going to put that diagnosis code in your folder, and that's what they're going to use to bill you. Okay? So that's why it sounds stupid to me to be like, you know what? I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder and depression. I've worked with thousands of charts. I've worked with thousands of mental health charts over the years, and almost all of them have that in there. It's shocking if you go into somebody's folder and don't see generalized anxiety disorder and depression in there. Now, I'm not saying that to discount the experience because I have it. So people discount my experience all the time. I'm not saying it to discount that experience. I'm just saying that to say that it's going to sound shocking for her to say something like that for somebody who has no experience in the field. It's going to sound shocking to the average person. But to me, I didn't even blink hearing something like that at all. I have a friend who is in the social work space, went through challenges, and is now going through the work because of their own experience, and it is making him a better, more empathetic worker. Excellent. The Diagnosis and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Yes. Thank you for that, Van Hoot. Yeah, she needs to talk about living with it, how to manage it on good days, and days when you get triggered. Danielle, you just said a whole lot. There are so many layers to mental health come on now. They are both global codes and codes for every country. Those codes are very important too. She even said, I had to be on medication. Anybody going to tell her that manic depression is not treated with medication a few times? I know. She said it like, oh yeah, they gave me medication, then it's done. No, it's called an ICD-10. You have to get insurance to cover it. Depends on where you live, but yes. She talked about herself, but didn't outline her experiences, the challenges. Yeah, it feels like she went to a therapist, got a diagnosis, and was like, here, guys, here's my slip. Like when you're trying to prove something to your job. Like your job is like, you said that you had to take a sick day, and your job was like, I don't think you're really sick. So you went to the doctor and were like, hey, I need this paperwork that shows that I was sick. The doctor signs it, you bring it into work, like, yes, I was sick. Okay, you got a diagnosis. Now tell us what you've been doing since you got that diagnosis to learn more about yourself, to learn how your behavior was harmful to others and destructive. Let us know that. Got the doc's note. She got the slip. She got the slip and she was showing it around. Hey guys, I told y'all that there was a reason why I said all that stuff. And it's because I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating well. Cameras were on me. I have a mental health disorder. That's why she shot on production. It's why, and I could be wrong. She seems, yeah, and then she's like, production made me do that. Production made me say that stuff about Taylor. She wants people to feel sorry for her. The person we saw in Big Brother, truly who she. I feel like a Big Brother, I think magnifies the person that we would see in real life. That's how I feel. I don't feel there are too many cases like even I've listened to I've listened to people who left the Big Brother house, not left as in left like her, but just they're out, they're alumnus, they're alumni or whatever. And they don't usually say I just got a bad edit from production. I mean, they all talk about things that are missing, but they're not like I was this whole different person and then production made me look like this whole different person. And the only time they say that is when the thing that they did or said has gotten them like a ton of hate from the fans. She wants her mental health diagnosis to absolve her from her words and her actions. That's the reason why I don't show empathy. Do I hope that she gets help? Yes. Do I hope that she's able to figure things out, get it together, and be a productive member of society that's not toxic? Absolutely. Do I absolve the things that she said? Do I absolve her from the things that she said because of her mental health diagnosis? Absolutely not. Let me see here. She may realize that far too late, which is sad enough. If she was a regular person, it would be bad enough because of the damage she could do. This is just amplified. Yeah. Not to play devil's advocate, but she did check herself out of the house in like a day that. No, yes, I'm not discounting actually that she has issues, and I'm not even discounting that she has. I don't know. I'm not her doctor. I'm not her psychiatrist, but she says that she was diagnosed with bipolar and anxiety disorder, depression, and that she had mania. That's what she says. All of that could be true, but I don't think that that absolves her from her behavior, from her words and her actions. And I don't even think that the things that she said about Taylor were related to her mental health disorder. Because when she was having that interview with Indy yesterday, she was kind of still saying that the way she treated Taylor was A, Taylor's fault, and B, production's fault. She didn't say it was her fault. She said Taylor was making snarky comments, Taylor was bullying her, Taylor was fat shaming Jasmine. And then Indy was like, okay, I understand about your mental health disorder and how it impacted you in the house. What's going on now? So she was saying she was getting treatment. She was saying that she's getting treatment, but she's still saying that her behavior and the things that she was saying were justified. I wonder if that. Oh, this is a whole other topic, Van Hoot. This is a whole different topic to me because I've heard that Big Brother only allows a therapist to talk to the Big Brother house guests 2 days a week. Come on now, that type of experience, you only get 2 days with a therapist. At this point in time in the stage that we're in 2022, that is irresponsible as hell. I think she was aware enough to recognize something is wrong, but it doesn't mean she's in a mental state to currently to fully work through all of her problems. Yeah, I mean, it's a good step at least that she was able to see somebody and identify what's wrong, but the self-work is really the healing. Oh wow, but yeah, you can be all those things and not be what I don't know what the last word there was supposed to be. It takes the vast majority of people time to really honestly, Van Hoot, I feel like we shouldn't even be hearing from her about this at this point. Like maybe 6 months down the road or something. If I heard her like 6 months down the road, knowing that she had been putting in work all that time, she understands her disorder, whatever she was diagnosed with, and she's been, in treatment and working towards getting better, then I would kind of take what she's saying now more seriously in terms of her giving others advice. Because I don't know if you guys have ever been in a position, no matter what any one of us thinks, Paloma is somebody's hero. Paloma is somebody's hero. Like there's many people out there who are looking up to her right now. There's many people who are suffering and struggling with a mental health disorder, watching this person who they were a fan of on their favorite show or one of their favorite shows and hanging off of her every word. Those words are important, people. Those words are important. There could be people who think that the bullying and the toxicity is justified, doing that to people in their own life, and then saying, it's my mental illness that made me do that. That's why I said it's dangerous. Because I'm going to get to these comments, but look at what it put Taylor through. Imagine she was doing those things for somebody who was emotionally and mentally unstable. Not Taylor, somebody who was emotionally and mentally unstable, who suffered from severe clinical depression, suicidal ideations, and you couldn't see that on the outside. So somebody rallied a whole group of people against that person and targeted them. We got to get rid of her just because. And then that person takes their life. Then what? Then it's not Big Brother anymore. Like this is a serious topic to me. This is not like just a Big Brother TV show topic that I usually talk about. I know people who actually have attempted suicide and succeeded due to things like this. So this is like a real serious topic to me. I really wish a true friend of her or someone would explain the basics of a true apology. Yeah, Indy tried, maintenance chick. Indy tried. Indy tried. I actually think, unfortunately for her, the Big Brother house will either be terrible for her, the best thing for her. It may force her to look within. The tough part about this, Van Hoot, is that the Big Brother house will always provide thousands of people who are willing to validate her behavior. So it's ultimately her choice what she gets out of it. It's her choice. Because just like you and I talked about offline and off this, a Kanye as the example. If people are in his corner that don't stand behind the things he's saying, he just gets rid of them and his life just keeps going. The money just keeps flowing. The popularity stays, and there will always be people to defend him until he reaches the point where he says, I am a problem. I'm causing a lot of what's happening to me. I don't think Paloma has reached that point. It's always everybody else. She should be working on herself, and from a PR standpoint, it would be better. Yeah, I don't think she has any kind of PR agent. She may not have someone else's opinion that she trusts enough to help her reflect. Oh yeah, someone will be looking up to her and saying, "Oh man, exactly. I made it. She made it on Big Brother. I can be just like her." Again, it reminds me of Kanye in his interviews with Tucker. They get sensitive about people pointing out they may not be frankly unstable at a and Kanye is sitting here saying that mental illness is like a facade and a mind control technique. He doesn't believe he has one. I don't know if y'all have followed that, but he doesn't even believe that he has one. Taylor could even have a suit in on her case for emotional trauma and harm. Do you say that because she's not able to trust? Hard to know for sure. Yeah, Mark and I have talked about this with a few incidents. Kanye is very sick at the moment. Um, she doesn't have to say it's 100% all her. Yeah, exactly, exactly. I'm not even sitting here just trashing Paloma. It's just I'm explaining why I think it's a dangerous situation. I do too, maintenance chick. That would be so important. So important. Come on. I wish they would have a reunion episode. That would be so great. Have therapists on deck. Have production on deck. Come on. Wouldn't that I would watch that in a heartbeat. People who are manic and medicated aren't good at listening to people or oops and too soon. Unmedicated. Okay, let me try to read this together. People who are manic and unmedicated aren't good at listening to other people or listening to any sort of sense. Yeah, like listening to her. I know people will say you're not going to know whether she's medicated or unmedicated. Doctors don't know if their patients are medicated or unmedicated unless they are ordering blood work. Because their patients can say that they're medicating and not be medicating. Therapy is also like the honor system, unless you are in an inpatient facility where they monitor those things medically by taking blood work and giving you your medication and all that stuff, forcing you to go into these therapy groups or whatever. If you are in any kind of outpatient scenario, the work that you have to do is like honor system. It's like when you go to a personal trainer, they tell you these are the foods that you're supposed to eat. This is the amount of exercise that you have to do when you're not with me. But you can go out and do whatever you want. I think the proof is in the pudding. You can see whether a person is doing the work or not. And I feel like she didn't do the work, and she just wants everyone to acknowledge that she has a mental health disorder that is responsible for anything negative that you think about her. It ain't always that. It ain't always that. Survivor had one. Hmm. They should have the vote and then send people home for a week. You don't know if she's medicated for sure, but you know that, yeah, you do. Mental health is tough. I think it's important. It's an important part in medicine, the counseling. Yeah, they actually say, I mean, I don't want to go too deep into statistics because I don't have exact figures in front of me, but they do say that a person who receives talk therapy and no medicine does better than somebody who receives medicine and no talk therapy. And the reason for that is because if you're just receiving the medication, it is only treating the symptoms without giving you an actual understanding of your symptoms and coping tools and coping techniques and all that stuff. And I can say that from experience too. Because when I first got my diagnosis of general anxiety disorder, it was from a general physician. The general physician was like, oh, no problem. You get panic attacks, you have a general anxiety disorder, depression. It's so common. No big deal. Here's the Xanax. Whenever you feel those symptoms arise, take the Xanax. You're going to be good, right? So I took the Xanax when I started to feel anxiety and panic attacks and all that. It worked for a little bit, but I never learned anything about breathing techniques. I never learned about what is sparking the anxiety. You know, I never really looked within myself to figure out why this was happening. And the Xanax only helped to stop the symptoms. American Psychiatry Association recent research indicates that on average 15 to 20 sessions are required for 50% of patients to recover as indicated by self-reported symptom measures. Thanks for that. And that last sentence, that last part of the sentence is important. Self-reported. People can go into therapy and lie. For sure, if you're on meds, you should always be in therapy. You are so right. You are so right. In the clinics that I've worked for, it is a requirement. It is a requirement, but not for every clinic. There are some psychiatrists that operate where they just prescribe the meds and you leave. Okay, you have this disorder. This, and this are the meds for it. Here you go. See you next week or see you next month. Because in some cases they prescribe once a month. It's like I consider mental health disorders as thinking disorders where things get, the wiring is off in your brain. And meds don't put the wiring back where it should be. They help to alleviate the symptoms while you do the self-work. Some people think that the meds can be taken in place of the self-work. But you can take the meds, but you might find yourself in a very triggering situation where the meds don't work for you if you have not put in the work. That's the theme. That's the theme that I'm continuing to go back to. I know I've said that a lot, but I know all of you that are on this particular live are on it. I hope the people who watch, not on it as in on meds, but on it as in you understand what I'm saying. But I hope the people who watch this on the replay are going to get the point because I'm hammering it home. Don't think she has been out of the damn house for 16 weeks. No ticket, no laundry. Yeah. irresponsible. It's irresponsible to just give somebody the meds and not give them the therapy. That's what I think. I think you should be able to get therapy without getting meds, but you shouldn't be able to get the meds without getting the therapy. Treating symptoms versus treating cause. Exactly. You're not treating the cause. You're treating the symptoms. You're treating the symptoms only at that point. The no ticket is about doing. Yeah, I got your point, Van Hoot. The no ticket is about doing the meds to get therapy or vice versa. Yeah, Van Hoot, I've actually had people sit in my office before the pandemic. I don't have an office now, but when I had the office and I was giving people therapy in the office, peer counseling, I'm not going to call it therapy. When I was giving people peer counseling in the office, I had people tell me, I've been a drug addict for X amount of years, but I never did a street drug. I got all of my drugs from my psychiatrist. There's actually a bunch of psychiatrists, unfortunately, it's not everybody, and they're trying to cut down on this, but there's a bunch of psychiatrists who just gave them the scripts, and they knew that they were abusing those scripts. But it's like, as long as I have my signature on that paper, I'm getting paid. And they're addicts, so they're going to keep coming back to me. That's an untalked about thing in the field, but man, there's documentaries on it. You can look them up. I had not had an anxiety episode for almost 20 years. My breast cancer, I can imagine. So that's the other thing, Tammy. I'm sorry to hear it as well. As I said earlier, that's the other thing. Almost all major, I shouldn't even say almost, any major physical issue like that, cancer or like a major thing going on with your body physically, is also going to spark or cause co-occurring mental health issues relating to that. Definitely. There's such a wide range of why you can get a mental health diagnosis. But also, there's also a small range too, because like I said, anyone goes into um, an office for a therapy or whatever and tells them about anything that has been going on in their life, there's a diagnosis code for that. Diagnosis code for that. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Em. Yeah, I can imagine that must have been terrifying. I mean, I said at the beginning of this call, I was just at a breast cancer walk earlier this morning. I've been volunteering there for about 7 years, I think. Once a year in October, we go out there. They have a whole ceremony for breast cancer survivors and for their families if the person didn't survive. And we listen to their stories, and we do like different things. They do Zumba. I do some music for them. There's lots of different activities that go on. It's in the park nearby my house, and then we do like a walk, and then yeah, it wasn't cancer for me. Wow, I'm glad it was not cancer. Thoughts and healing vibes sent your way. Absolutely, thoughts and healing vibes. People do not take their health and especially their mental health seriously enough. To Tammy and love to Tammy and M. You got to make sure your mind is right so you can crush it. Absolutely. Van Hoot said to me one time that sometimes the smaller discussions turn out to be the best. I'm not even gonna lie. When I first started doing live feeds and stuff like that, if I hopped on the feed and saw 7 people, 8 people, whatever, I would only be on here for a few minutes and I'd hop off because I'm like, nobody's on here. But the level of discussion that is being had, we probably wouldn't have that with 200 people on here. So it's even better. Thanks. Therapy during that time was excellent for me. They weren't just talking sessions. I was talking to somebody, Tammy, and saying that all those things should be suggested and covered by therapy. I mean, sorry, by insurance. Because they will cover all the meds in the world. They will cover all the meds in the world, but they will not cover preventative measures, gym membership, yoga class, nutritionist, mindfulness training. I mean, I don't know if you got them. I know they have some kind of free stuff, but my point is, the community offers it for free, or the people offer it for free. It's not like the government actually covers that, so that the people who are giving those life-saving services to you are getting compensated. Because they act like you just have to help people for free. It costs money to live in this world. If I could give people mental health advice all day and therapy and that kind of stuff all day for free and live for free, I would do it. But yeah, my sister was telling me that, man. Who Most of my family still lives in Canada, and that is surprising with everything else, with the universal health care and all that. That is surprising. It is such a rip and a joke. And I have to see that every day because yeah, I work behind the scenes. Let's just say that. So I see a lot of things. Maybe one day when I'm not working for that place anymore, I'll be able to talk more about it. But as for now, I cannot. Dental care is nothing here. I learned that from having to get a few root canals in the last couple of years. I pay for the maximum. They take the maximum that they can for dental out of my check. But it basically just covers your basic checkups. Maybe like a regular filling or two. I mean, that's one thing. I do get mental health coverage with my job. Unlimited. Not unlimited, but once a week. I could qualify for once a week. It's just that the quality of the people that I have tried to reach out to through EAP has left a lot to be desired. So currently I'm not doing that, but I've done years of therapy myself. I've done years of it. And I've had some great therapists that helped me learn a lot of things about myself that I didn't know before. Another discussion for another day, but the way you change that is you gotta have enough people be frustrated enough and advocate for it. I agree. I agree. It's very challenging. It's very challenging because those things take time. I'll be a bit transparent. I have been with ADHD and different kind of work, and I started when I was younger. Some people have suggested they don't believe I have it. Listen, Van Hoop. I don't have ADHD. A lot of people don't even believe I have a mental illness, and I used to take that as an insult because I'm like, how dare they tell me that I don't have something that I struggle with every day. But then I said to myself, there was a time when people would not be able to think that about me for sure. There was a time in my life when people would not be able to even think that I don't have one. So the fact that so many people now cannot believe that is just a compliment and a sign that I have put in so much work that I don't look like anything that I have been through. Thankfully. Thanks everyone. I was just placed in survivorship. My insurance covered most. The clinic I go. Oh, that's awesome. They're big on holistic medicine, coordinated with traditional medicine. That's awesome. I think that even when you take traditional medicine, it should still be accompanied with holistic medicine. Because obviously, I know there's some cases where you need traditional Western medicine, but even while you're receiving that, it still helps to be accompanied with holistic methods. Sounds like a good place, Tammy. I know it does. It really does. Congrats on the survivorship. I knew I wasn't really going to want to start this topic with having a limited time because there's so much to talk about, but I am going to have to go shortly. I know what you mean about getting insulted by that. I don't necessarily feel that anymore. I more so feel frustrated that people don't understand these things are often on spectrums. Yeah. They expect ADHD or like a mental health disorder to look a certain way. And that way they expect it to look is the most extreme form. And if you are not exhibiting the most extreme form of that, then it's like you're not experiencing it. Mental health has ebbs and flows just like life. Definitely. I've done acupuncture, Tammy, and I loved it. Hi, Shy. The mind is incredibly powerful. It's so powerful. I don't know how many people know what agoraphobia is, but I really thought my way to being in this little bubble, which was just my room, where I stayed in my room for almost a year. And I was extremely terrified to leave my room for this irrational fear of something happening to me when I left my room. They also associate it with counterintelligence or other things. They do. They do. They definitely do. They definitely do. Yeah, this has been a great discussion. It's funny though. The loudest people in the comments are the ones who would not want to be a part of a productive discussion like this. They just want to be loud in the comments. The crew that comes on here, whenever I do these kind of posts on here, I see the same names, I see the same people. They're the people who are communicating with me all the time. I know they're going to be on here. I know they're going to be on here. And the ones that are not looking to have those types of discussions, they don't show up here. And that's fine, as a matter of fact. That's fine, as a matter of fact. I love these small group discussions that we have because we get through a lot more. And everybody is focused on the topic. Nobody is trying to just insult each other. Even people who are like, okay, I have a different viewpoint, Mark. That's fine. Give me your viewpoint. Give me your viewpoint. I'll read it. I'll tell you if I agree or disagree. That's how a discussion goes for me. I don't have to insult anyone or, cause dissension or anything like that. Sometimes I even get things that I wasn't thinking about. I don't know everything. I know quite a lot about this topic, but I don't know nearly everything because nobody knows everything about it. We're still learning about it every day. Thanks for making this space. No problem. No problem. I'm getting ready to go in a few, but if anyone has any last comments, and I'm definitely willing to hop back on later. Because this feels like a discussion that needs to take place in parts. This is not just a one time talk about it and we're done type of thing. This is something that is ongoing. Knowledge is power. Yes, Lin Lin. Appreciate you for always coming on. I want to hear your thoughts on the mind control thing. Oh, you had to say that right before I was trying to go. No, I have to answer those couple of comments. I do. I'm not going to be able to go too in depth because I have to run, but some people, for the question that Van Hoot said, some people act like mental illness means that you are not in control of your own mind and your own thoughts. There are incidences of people who experience audio and visual hallucinations. And even then, even when the people who are experiencing audio and visual hallucinations, they have an opportunity to challenge what they're hearing, to challenge what they're seeing. Now, sometimes when it's a case of them never having been introduced to their diagnosis, they don't know anything about it, and it just happens to them and they don't realize what's happening, then in those cases, they think that what they're hearing and seeing is their reality. And you usually know when you've encountered that with somebody, because when they start to get treatment and medication and all that stuff, you talk to them and they're like, oh my God, I was seeing a totally different world. And I'm so sorry because I know that that was not really real. It's just what I thought was real based on what I was seeing and hearing. You could, for me, sitting in offices with many different patients, I can really tell the difference between somebody who has that experience versus somebody who's just like, it's my mental illness. It took over me. Paloma is too smart to me and too in control and remembers so much of what happened for me to be like, I would be shocked if I was just that far off about what I think about her. I would be so shocked. Okay. That's another long question. That's another long question. My work with music and mental health. I don't even know if I can really answer that in a short enough span to get started on it. I'm going to try to give a very short version, but I will come back on at some point and talk about that at some point. But a very Spark Notes version of that is that music has helped me through so many different tough times. There's a lot of scientific backing to show what music does for people who especially experience things like depression and anxiety. And I decided to combine those two things based on my own experience and how music has helped me to use music as a form, a tool of therapy in a sense, to help people who are experiencing similar struggles. So now when I go play somewhere, I always give a mental health message before I start. And I have found that when I play songs, people come up to me after I play and say, I remember this song triggered this memory of such and such, somebody who passed or something I experienced in the past, and it gives, like, it makes them kind of connect through that. I know that's a super summarized answer. I want to give a better one at another time, but that's the answer that I can give in the time that I have. Real community. Yes, Tammy. Great discussion. Yes, it is, Shy. I appreciate this discussion. These are things that I have a hard time talking to people about. Not hard as in it's hard for me to open up about it, but hard as in they have a hard time talking about it because it's a whole other world to them. There's only such a small percentage of people who are willing to put in this type of work to just learn about themselves and figure out what they're putting off to the world and how their own thoughts, actions, words, and behavior impacts the things that happen to them. Because a lot of people are always trying to be the victim. This person did this to me. This person did that to me. At some point, you gotta look in here. How do I draw those people to me? What am I doing that allows those things to keep happening to me? It is really their reality at the time. Yes, yes, delusions and hallucinations are a different level. Yes, they are. And I have family members and close friends who I've seen have them in front of me. So when people are like, what qualifies you? I don't think I'll really have an answer that satisfies them, but ego is key. You have to let it go. Paloma's both out of control yet somewhat aware. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's a good way of putting it. Another day for music and mental health. I did that today. I spoke to those breast cancer survivors and I played some music for them, and a lot of them expressed that it really helps them. Even if it's not necessarily, I think music is healing, actually. I think music is a form of healing. Tuesday for music and mental health. That's a possibility, maintenance chick. That's a possibility. That is a possibility. Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, before the pandemic and before I got on these YouTubes or whatever, I was trying to make a weekly workshop called Music and Mental Health. And my idea for that was to have either myself or a musician start it off by doing some form of music. We have like a little discussion around the song and then we get into the workshop topic. So they get a little bit of both. So I still think it would be cool to do something like that online. Music is therapeutic for me when I'm in a certain mood. Yeah. And parts of it include a combination of biological and physiological, psychological, sorry, and social resources of distress. Yep. All of those things are factors, and environmental too. Yes. I think it's great to see a black man advocate. I can read people. It's just that looking at these words are so small. It's a rarity. And there's not many black people in general in the field doing this work. I think the last number I saw was something like 4% of all the people in this field are African American, and a much lesser of that percentage is African American males. I don't see many of them in the 10 years that I have worked in this field. I don't see many of them. And you think that I'm treated well and celebrated in my field? Absolutely not. I've withstood some of the things that you see Taylor and these people going through in their setting. I've withstood some of those things in my work setting because they don't want me in there. That's another topic. They don't want me in there. You know why? Let me tell you something about that. Because the people that you see that look like me are sitting in the other chair, receiving the therapy, not giving it to them, not talking to them. And you know why they don't want somebody like me in there talking to somebody else who looks like me? Because I can validate that part of the reason why they are in that chair is social and environmental factors. Poverty, the types of schools that they grew up in, the neighborhoods that they grew up in, the money that their parents have or don't have, sometimes growing up with one parent, witnessing violence and all this kind of stuff is part of the reason why they're in that chair. And if I'm sitting in there in the other chair, talking to them and validating that. Instead of just being like, here's your diagnosis and meds. I'm now talking about the core of why they came in there to see me. And they're going to start thinking, hey, maybe I should start making things better for the next generation. Let's start putting the therapy into the community and talking to them about these different things. Let's provide mentorship. Let's pool together money and start creating programs. I don't know. There's a lot. There's just a lot to it. I don't even want to get too deep into that now because it's awesome that you do this, Mark. I'm hoping that YouTube will provide me a better platform, a bigger platform and a less controlled platform to be able to talk about these things. We need it desperately. Yeah. You do mental health in prisons? Oh, really? I would like to know a lot more about that. Shoot me a message or an email. I would like to know about that. I do. There are no black men in the entire. I'm not surprised by that. I'm not. They'll throw us in there, but they won't hire us to talk to the inmates. Because God forbid, you learn something about the system that you became a part of and try to come out and do something better. They just want you to stay in there, medicate you, see you, talk to you. Pipeline programs are so important. I agree with everything you said. Yeah, man. It's so when I went, so in I was in therapy on and off for maybe 10 years, maybe on and off for 10 years. I got one African American therapist in that span of time. The majority of who I saw were white women. Some of them were great. Some of them were great. Some of them gave me some gems that I still remember to this day. But I should have had much more options to get somebody of color who looks like me, who has similar backgrounds as me, who can understand the role that race actually plays in a lot of what we call mental illness. If you went back to the times of slavery and put those slaves in a office to talk to a therapist and there was a DSM book, can you imagine the long list of diagnosis codes that those people would get? And it's not just because of biological factors. It's because of their experience. Experience plays a big role. Experience and environment and socioeconomic status plays a role. Come on, M. The things that we know as race were also made by white men. What we call race today, if people know their background and history, I've read books about it. The things that were on the census before, like, look up what the census used to have on it before maybe the 60s it changed. But look up what it used to say on the census, on the U.S. Census. It's amazing. Who else can tell a story better if they haven't gone through it or been through it? They couldn't imagine how it feels or what it's like. And that's most of the options that we have when it comes to therapists. IQ test, the census. Van Hood is dropping some gems in here. Plus, try to step over the stigma of mind health. Yeah. And then it's like, if you're, well, I'm of course speaking from my perspective, but if you're a black man who's like, I have emotional issues, they have all kinds of things to say about you. How do we normalize mental health? That is the question of the day, maintenance chick. This conversation is one of those ways. I hope that when you guys get off here, you'll comment and you'll share this. Absolutely, Van Hoot. I'm definitely down for a collab. I am definitely down for a collab. All right, y'all. I have to leave because I'm going to visit Pops. But we will revisit this conversation later. Maintenance chick gave me a good idea. Possibly making Tuesdays about mental health topics. Thank you, and thanks Van Hoot, and thanks everyone who joined in on this. We'll definitely continue with this conversation at another time. Oh, check my bio, M. Look in my bio and send a message to that email. You pray that all is well, or if you can do that, or you can also add me music and mental health on Instagram. Music and A-N-D, not the and sign. Music and mental health, same name on Instagram. You can send me a message there. I'm gonna be taking some of this conversation and posting it, by the way, because this is such a good conversation. I have to get some snippets of this. Send Pops our love. Thank you, maintenance chick. All right. Talk to y'all later.